Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. It's your girl, Erica. I hope all is well. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And welcome to my review of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. This is season 5, episode 15. Now, I have not recorded or I have not done reviews for this entire season only because I literally just started recording or doing reviews, y'all. I had my YouTube page, but I never really decided to review the show. So now I'm doing it. It's a new year. I've decided to do something new. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So now I am reviewing Salt Lake City. Let me just start off by saying that Salt Lake City has had a flawless, and I mean flawless season. They have been every episode has been 10 out of 10. Even the filler episodes have been really, really good. I have not been bored with Salt Lake at all this entire season. They've done a great job. I know they had to sort of bounce back from the whole Monica situation, but I really don't even think that was an issue. Production has done a an extremely fantastic and phenomenal job of putting this show together, and they have not missed a beat. So I just want to sort of just congratulate them for having an outstanding season because it's been perfect. So this episode, again, like I said, this is season 5, episode 15, and it's called Smile, You're Recorded. So let's get started. Of course, the ladies are still in Puerto Vallarta. It's a beautiful place. That is somewhere that I actually want to go. Of course, I've been to Mexico numerous times, and I've gone to Mexico, but I've been on the east side, so I would love to go to Puerto Vallarta on the other side. And they seem like they're having a great vacation. This, again, Salt Lake City has always had pretty good vacations. I wish that some of the other franchises would get an opportunity to go to some of those places. However, I don't know what their budgets are, but again, Salt Lake City always has some really, really nice trips. So again, they're still there. Of course, Mary is there. I thought they were actually going to pick up from the actual night or that night when Lisa sort of stormed off from the table, but they didn't pick up there. They actually decided to pick up from the next morning, and they just sort of had flashbacks of the night before. So anyway, the episode starts off. Lisa is actually sitting alone. She's saying that she's really upset about what happened, and now her whole mood has changed. She's ready to go, although she's not going anywhere. And she's saying she's kind of looking at the ladies with a side eye because she got some information from Bronwyn. Now, in the previous episode, on episode 14, Bronwyn kind of gave us a little bit backdrop of why she's been acting the way she does. She gave us a little more insight to her marriage with Todd, even just growing up and her having her daughter Gwen out of wedlock in the Mormon religion or the Mormon community, how hard that was for her, and how she really just doesn't seem to fit in with anyone. And everyone was very empathetic to her, at least most of the girls were. They were very empathetic to her. They understood where she was coming from, and they sort of like took to her and they started having good conversation. It seemed like Bronwyn was going to kind of be at ease a little bit. Bronwyn seems to be very, very tense right now, especially with her relationship with Lisa. But I thought with her talking to the other girls and conversing with them, I thought that would sort of ease her tension. Well, we see where Bronwyn told Lisa that Whitney, Heather, and Angie were actually making comments about her. I was a little taken aback when Bronwyn did that because Bronwyn, that was nothing to actually tell Lisa. They were actually just giving their opinion, just as all the other ladies do. Really, that was nothing to tell. I don't really know where Bronwyn is because on one end, Bronwyn is saying, these girls you're not accepting toward me. I feel like I have to fight my way to be heard. I feel like I have to fight my way to actually be seen and respected in this group. And then when the girls sort of pull you in and say, okay, let's have the conversation, let's chill, let's relax, let's have a great time. And then they're having a conversation, they're being open and honest with you. You take it right back to Lisa, who did not seem to have your back. So that was kind of confusing to me. I was like, okay, Bronwyn, where are you coming from? Like, are you doing this really because you really want Lisa's friendship? Are you doing this because you want to cause drama with the other ladies? What is it? Bronwyn just doesn't. I like Bronwyn as a newbie because she came in, she could hold her own. She wasn't afraid to sort of dig her heels in and try to get to know the girls. But then also, I like the fact that she had her own mind and that she spoke up for herself. But then there was the flip side of Bronwyn, I'm sorry, where I could see her where she was always complaining and there was always a problem and she was always kind of whiny, and that's not where I thought of, that's not who I thought she was. But then, it kind of annoyed me as the season went on. So now that I'm looking at Bronwyn, it's like, okay, Bronwyn, you don't seem to be as cool as I thought you were. So again, with her doing that, just kind of threw me off. So after that, I was like, okay, Bronwyn, like, girl, I ain't feeling you. But anyway, they go on, they decide to have their day. Of course, Mary, they showed a scene with Mary, and she was saying how she missed having a conversation or just talking to her son, Robert Jr. We all know that touching scene where Mary had to, she discussed Robert Jr.'s drug usage and his addiction. So he is now in rehab, and it seems as though, of course, she says like everything seemed to be running smoothly. He was ready to go. He was ready to commit and do the work that it needed to take for him to get better. But she was saying she kind of missed him, and of course, any mom would. So I understood where Mary was coming from. So just that little scene just sort of let us know where she was. We move on. And Meredith and Heather have a conversation. And so Meredith comes to Heather and she kind of mentions, Brittany's accusations against her. In the previous episode, which is episode 14, Brittany was saying that she heard Meredith crying and Meredith was vomiting. And, she was just asking her, was she okay? Well, Meredith, that has not set well with Meredith. And so Meredith was sort of going to Heather and just talking to Heather about it. And she even went as far as to say that, perhaps Brittany bugged her room. And now Heather has this Meredith has this story of it's like a conspiracy theory now against Brittany. And so, Meredith is coming across a little strange to me. Meredith has been on the show since season 1. And of course, Meredith was like one of the fan favorites for a very long time. And she's still one of the favorites. But over the past few seasons, Meredith acts a little strange at times. She's very socially awkward. Every time they go on a vacation, she seems to be getting sick. It's like throughout that vacation, something happens and she sort of like retreats a little bit, and then it seems like she's always getting sick. It's just something with Meredith. Her behavior seems to be off. I don't want to accuse her of anything. I have my own opinion of what I think it could be. But it's just something going on with her. She does not seem to be stable. Mentally, she doesn't seem to be stable. Even sometimes when Meredith is talking, and I'm getting a little tongue-tied, but even with Meredith, when she's conversing with the girls, she seems to be a little off. She's sort of slurred. Her body language is a little off and a little robotic at times. It's just weird to me. So I think Heather was kind of looking at Meredith with a side eye too, because I think Heather is the type, she notices things and I think she has an opinion about things, but Heather's the kind of person, she'll let you sort of hang yourself. She won't necessarily put it out there. She won't be the first one to put it out there, but if someone mentions it, then she'll sort of add her 2 cents, or she would agree or perhaps disagree with the information that comes out. I think Heather feels like Meredith is a little off too. So I think she was sort of going along and just nodding her head. She didn't say anything. Maybe she said a whole lot in production, didn't actually show that. They sort of edited the scene to make Heather look like she was like, like, yeah, you're right. But at the same time, Heather was looking at her with a big question mark hanging over her head, like, what's going on with Meredith? So anyway, Heather sort of played along with her and just said, well, yeah, let's go and check the room and see if it was bugged. But Heather didn't believe that the room was bugged for 1 second. Not even a second did Heather believe that. But I think she just wanted to kind of calm Meredith down so that they could potentially just have a great day. So the girls, they get on the bus and they're on their way to, they're going to ride ATVs. Lisa had set it up for them to ride ATVs. So of course they're discussing some things on the bus. And it just so happens that when they're on the bus, Lisa sort of brings up what Brahma told her. That's how it all kind of got kicked off. Lisa kind of mentioned it to them, and the girls were sort of defending themselves. At least Whitney was. Whitney, I think Angie and Whitney said the most. I didn't hear Heather say a whole lot, but I did hear, Angie say a couple of things, and then Whitney definitely kind of was like defending herself. And, of course, that caused her and Lisa to like exchange words. They were like throwing the F-bombs and all of that. Like they were like pissed off with each other. And so Angie sort of peered over, and I guess she noticed, or she kind of heard Brittany's phone where the other girls didn't hear it. But Angie said, Brittany, stop recording us. And Brittany kind of denied it and said, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I was sending something to the girl. She sort of gave maybe like 2 or 3 different excuses, or 2 or 3 different scenarios as to what she was doing with her phone. But Brittany she was recording them. Not probably, she was recording them. I don't know why she was doing it. I have no idea what was behind that, but she was. And so the girls, like, they all lashed out at her, like every single one of them, other than Mary. Mary was sort of sitting back. She doesn't care for Brittany. She's made that known, but she didn't say anything. But the rest of the girls really were kind of going in. Heather didn't go in until sort of when everyone else got their feelings out. But the rest of the girls, I guess because of what happened with Monica, they decided to like really let her have it. Meredith was going like, oh my God, it was almost like a Tasmanian devil on the actual bus. Like, she was like, you need to leave, you need to go, I'm tired of you. And Meredith is very frustrated with Brittany. I mean, of course, she had every right to tell Brittany how she felt about it, but it was definitely like overly dramatic and over the top. So of course Brittany started to cry. They sort of, I guess they reached their destination, and Brittany sort of jumped off the bus and she was like crying hysterically. She was actually hyperventilating. So Whitney was the only one that decided to go out and just have a discussion with her. And Whitney was just kind of telling her like, look, admit it, just admit it. And she still didn't want to admit it. And I think at that point, Brittany should have just said, I was doing it. And she should have just come clean and said why she was doing it, because either way, the girls are not going to trust her. But at that point, there was no reason in denying it. Like, after something like that, it's like when you're caught red-handed, like, why keep denying it? Just say, okay, you got me. I was, for whatever reason, this is why I was doing it, but whatever. But, of course, Brittany kept going with it. Oh, you can look at my delete. You can look at my phone. You can look at every, to see what I've deleted. I haven't deleted anything. Everything is there. You can just open my phone. Well, no one as a grown woman should have to go through your phone. You should have just came out and said, this is what I did. And yes, I was wrong. So anyway, of course, everyone's getting in the ATVs. Of course, no one wanted to ride with Brittany. So, of course, because that is Heather's friend, Heather had to ride with Brittany. So she was kind of like on the outs with the rest of the girls. So they're riding the ATVs. Of course, they have to go over a bridge. They make it safely. And then they end up having lunch. So at the table, everyone was having lunch. They seemed to be having a good time. Of course, there was a little tension because of Brittany. And it just so happens that Brittany decides to come clean. They were sitting there. They were all having a conversation. And then Mary actually got things kicked off this time. Mary actually asked Brittany, like, what's going on with her. She noticed that Brittany had started kind of like maybe, her mood was down and she wasn't really saying a whole lot. And so the girls just started talking to Brittany about it. Like Heather was just saying, like, what you did was wrong. And it is going to affect how you are in this group. And you have to know that you can't do things like that. And you have to take accountability for it. So then, Brittany kind of came forth. Of course, she always has an announcement. She has an announcement. I have an announcement. So Brittany decided to just come clean and say, basically, she's struggling because she is with Jared. She is having sex with Jared. And of course, in the Mormon faith, you cannot do that. And the Mormon faith is very, very strict, very strict. And we've known that if you've been watching since season one, they've sort of, Heather has definitely given us a lot of backdrop to, what goes on in the Mormon faith. Whitney has too, but Heather has really given us all the information, like all the tea. And Monica even said a couple of things in season 4. So we know that the Mormon faith is very, very strict. So of course, Brittany was saying that she's going to be ousted because of what she's doing. She said two of her brothers are bishops in the Mormon faith, and she knows that she's just going to be an outcast because of the type of relationship that she has with Jared Osmond. And so the ladies they understood. I think all of them understood, even though Mary is not in the Mormon faith, Mary is still a Christian, and she knows traditionally even some of the things that you can be sort of ostracized for in Christianity. So they all seem to have been compassionate toward her, and they were kind of like talking her through it and just saying, well, yeah, we knew that you were with Jared. We knew that you were having sex. We know that you drink. We know that you have this hidden lifestyle. Like you're trying to hide it and say that you don't, but we know that you do. And they were just trying to support her in that way and tell her, hey, it's going to be okay. It's better for you to be yourself and, stuff like that. That's what they were actually telling her. Just be yourself, Brittany. Stop trying to hide behind this perfection and just be more of yourself. So that's what, that conversation ended that way. So then, of course, the ladies, they decide to go shopping. They go shopping, and of course, the margaritas they're feeling good. They've had a lot of margaritas. Blame it on the Jews got you feeling loose because they were really feeling it. Like you could tell by the conversations they were having. You could also tell by the gifts that they were buying at the little shops, the gift shops. So they were feeling good. And then they ended up going to like a little fountain or like a little lake. It was more like a fountain to me. That's what it reminded me of. Like, how people talk about the fountain of youth. It was something like that. And it was like a really nice body of water, and you could sort of jump off of the rock, so to speak. But it was really nice. And then, of course, Mary, just being the buttoned up one that she is, she was like, oh my God, that water's dirty, Whitney, don't jump in. Mary is just very funny about things like that. So the rest of the ladies seemed to be having a good time. Of course, they were making digs at Brittany, but they had a great time. So that was the end of their day as far as that was concerned. So the ladies go to dinner. They went back. They finally made it back to their villas, and then they were going to dinner. So once they arrived at dinner, Angie brought up the conversation between Bronwyn and Lisa. And, Angie was kind of asking her, like, hey, Bronwyn, you were coming out of left field. Where did that come from? And, I've always called Whitney Whiny Whitney, but Whiny Whitney was on point this time because she said that Bronwyn felt guilty for having a conversation about Lisa. And she was 100% right because, like I said in the beginning of this review, Bronwyn, what would be the point of you saying anything? You participated in the conversation. None of them said anything that bad or that disparaging about Lisa that you had to go and repeat it. They were actually defending you. So why would you tell Lisa? So Whitney was on point with that. And then, of course, Meredith takes the floor and she addresses Brittany, and she was saying, basically how she wasn't vomiting, she was coughing, and she was on the phone with Seth. And she was sort of talking about that. And then, of course, attorney Meredith comes into play. So Meredith sort of sets the scene and sets the tone, and she paints the picture for the jury, and then she hits them with the bam. Brittany has a recording device in her room, or she alluded to the fact that Brittany could have a recording device in her room. And Brittany was like, oh my God, never would I do that. Like, okay, where are you coming from? And that was really about it, folks. But the point is, I'm looking at all of my notes, and I'm just saying, like, Something's going on with Meredith. That was like, if you can see, I have my notes, and that's all I kept talking about. Like, there's something going on with Meredith. So Meredith was just trying to set the scene for that. But Meredith, you look a little off. Like I said again, to go that extreme to say someone had a recording device in your room is ridiculous. And even if they did, Meredith, at this point, the point of the matter is, were you vomiting? Were you crying? Or whatever the case may be. Now, it went from initially, yes, you were upset because of the slut shaming. Then you said you were talking to Seth or you weren't feeling well and all of these, and you were just coughing. It wasn't vomiting. But Meredith, something is going on, and Brittany heard it. And just like when they got back to the actual villa earlier from their luncheon and their outing with riding the ATVs, they were listening to Meredith's conversation with Lisa, and they heard every word she said. So that sort of proved that the villas weren't soundproof. So Meredith is kind of like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, you're trying to make it look, yeah, you can use the whole Brittany actually bugged your room because of course she was trying to record you guys on the bus. But at the same time, it's like that's a little extreme. So that was pretty much the end of the episode. It was a really good episode. And next week they're going to end their trip in Puerto Vallarta. So we're going to see the remaining part of that, and that is the season finale. It's good. It is good. I can't say enough about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. They've had a great season. And I'm just, like I said, this is my first review of it, but I'm going to definitely review next week's episode of the season finale as well as the reunion. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like the video. If you like the video, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Like I said, I am a new YouTuber. I'm just doing this for fun. It's something that I really enjoy doing, and I would love to have your support. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it if you could hit that like button. And like I said, just subscribe to my channel. You may not watch every one of my videos, but hey, if it comes across or it comes your way, check me out. All right.